Hello, all, and welcome. Tonight we are doing a spot of a podcast. We're doing our first episode of our hopefully what will be a continuing series, the PureJoy podcast. Something I've been thinking about for a really long time, putting a lot of effort and work into on my own side to prepare. I wanted to do a little project that... Hi, Shadowcat. Welcome. I wanted to do a little project that could be like... just like a little exploration. I wanted to do a dive into, members of our community and our friends outside of streaming in a way that could... just like shed a light onto them in a way that maybe we don't have access to just coming in and playing games. Even with the just chatting, I think it's a way to examine things that we don't get the opportunity to. Yeah, here we go, folks. Give myself a little beat here. Welcome to the PureJoy podcast, a bi-weekly exploration into what brings people joy. Here on the PureJoy podcast, we're going to be interviewing friends, community members, just really anyone that is a part of, our sphere of influence. They don't even need to be here on Twitch, our normal streaming platform, but any parts of our community, in an attempt to spread some love and joy, just to get out of our normal bubbles and spread some love. My first guest in what will hopefully be a successful long string of guests is one of those friends and community members. He is a longtime friend. We've met in person. We've had some drinks. His name in the social strata here on Twitch, TikTok, and all of the social medias is Toxic Killer 50, but today we'll be referring to him by his real name, which is Matt. So we will be switching over there now. Here we go. Hello, Matt. How's it going today?
Hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Fantastic.
Let's get that a little closer.
Yes. Yeah. So, how was your day? Just in general around this.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. Woke up this morning, we went to church, we did our shopping, filled up my car with gas.
That's expensive.
Did a short episode of my own podcast because I was trying to watch a hockey game.
Yeah, I caught a little bit of that.
Watched a hockey game, had dinner, and here we are. We spent a lot of our day yesterday drinking what we're going to talk about. But yeah, no, it was a good Sunday. I have a 3-day weekend, so I'm looking forward to maybe staying up a little late tonight to play some video games. And, I'm excited to talk about stuff that we don't always talk about when I'm live or in social circles. I like doing these. It definitely gets people to know the more personal side of me where, you and I have the advantage of living very close to each other, but some people that watch me don't. So this is just another way I can get to show them another side of me, and they can get to know the person behind the streamer a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why I want to do it. Because you and we've gotten the opportunity to go meet up. We've gotten some beers, we've gotten some barbecue, some drinks. We've met each other's partners. We've had a good time together. We don't always get that opportunity to do that with a lot of the people that we meet here. And also, hopefully, it can maybe inspire some people if they've never tried some of the things that we'll talk about. Maybe they're inspired to go out and do it. In the case of our subject today, in a responsible manner, but go out and try some of these things and experience them.
For sure.
So yeah, I wanted to start with a little, a different little bit before we dive on into our subject for the
Mhm.
day, and that is just like a small joy. What is something today that has brought you joy? Maybe you didn't find it in the moment, but looking back on it, hopefully now.
The New York Rangers did not go down 3-0 in their playoff series against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Okay,
That brought me much
that
joy.
brought you much joy. The New York Rangers didn't go down. I like it.
They won a game. They're back in the series, and I'm very happy.
That's fantastic.
So.
Yeah, you consume lots of hockey, right? Yeah.
I do a ton. I play fantasy hockey. I play ice hockey. I watch a lot of hockey. I am like a hockey fanatic.
This one.
And my team overachieved this year. They were not supposed to make the playoffs. They did. They were not supposed to win in the first round. They came back from being down 3-1, 3-1 in their first series, and 1-7 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are not billed to beat the Carolina Hurricanes, and they're now down 2-1. So now they're starting to win games against them. So it's been a good year for my hockey team. I did a hockey podcast, and I had them finishing in 6th place in their division, and they ended up finishing in 2nd. So they proved me wrong.
Proved you wrong. Okay. Okay. So you're. I've heard a lot about you. You being into hockey. Are you into other sports, like when hockey is off season? Do you get into football or baseball as much?
So I dabble in like a little bit of baseball. Hockey is like the main sport I do watch. I don't really watch much football except for the Super Bowl. Like honestly, for me, sports wise, it's pretty much hockey, a little bit of baseball, and I watch like the Super Bowl. I don't watch basketball at all. So if I'm not, if it's not hockey season, my sports stuff is kind of,
lessened. That
slows down, and gaming and Dungeons and Dragons and other things kind of take front seat to hockey when hockey season's not going on.
That makes sense. Awesome, cool, well, cute. That's fantastic. All right, so then on to our larger topic of the day, which is what in your overall life brings you your joy.
Sure. So I thought about doing streaming for this, but I really obviously I think we have a lot of the same community members that watch us, so I wanted to kind of maybe do something that is outside of that realm.
Yeah,
because I think it's pretty obvious that streaming brings me joy. I don't really need to sit on a podcast and say that.
No, sure. I mean, I totally expect one day some people to come on here and talk about like aspects of streaming that do bring them joy. And I'm looking forward to talking about that, but I am happy that we are not starting there at the beginning.
So for me, the one thing I did pick, I'm like a huge craft beer fanatic. Not everybody comes to the Friday streams to watch Legos, which is, it's fine. That's kind of the only day where you would really get like a glimpse of that.
Okay.
Because like the whole time we're building Legos, we're pretty much drinking craft beer. And I have started to notice like people will they're asking me like, hey, what are you drinking on? Like, cause like then they're curious, cause I'll just leave the can kind of like sitting in within camera view.
In the just the right with the logo facing camera. I like it.
What are you drinking?
This?
This is, so yeah, it's been a hobby of mine since college. For some of you that don't know, I just dropped a Pokemon card. For some of you that don't know, Chef Buddha and I actually went to the same culinary school. It's how we met. So my love for craft beer started as I was getting my minor in food and beverage management. And it started in this class we had to take called Beverage Appreciation. I will leave your mind to figure out what that class was, but it was practically all drinking. We literally would taste a different kind of alcohol every day. So like one day we'd come in and there'd be like 8 bourbons waiting for us to make. We're going to do bourbon today. Right. Like, and then one day it was like craft beer, and one day it would be vodka, and one day it would be So that's kind of where it started. I obviously it's a very expensive. It's not a cheap hobby.
Sure, yeah.
I'm into very expensive hobbies.
Yeah.
I don't understand why I'm this way. I hate that I'm this way sometimes because like I always joke like they're like, well, what do you do in your free time? I'm like, a lot of very expensive things, and it's not by choice. It's just what I like.
It's my tastes. I can't help it.
Yeah. So, you know, I not only enjoy drinking craft beer, I collect it, I cellar it, I keep you know, rare and hard to find beer at home.
Okay.
To bring to beer shares with me. I absolutely love going to beer shares. That's what we were doing yesterday. We had a beer share with it was a smaller one. It was like 6 or 8 people. I brought a very hard to acquire bottle that they only make 900 of a year that we won a lottery for this year. Yeah, so you know, and I just really enjoy sharing that and allowing other people to experience you know, those things along with me. It's been a really cool hobby. It is a lot of drinking, I get that. It's not the healthiest hobby in the world, but it does bring me a lot of joy to kind of experience what different breweries make. You know, every brewery has different barrel aged beers and different stouts and different lagers, and it's just cool to kind of see and travel and experience the uniqueness that each of these artists in their own right.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
what they make for, you know, people to enjoy, because it's all kind of, you know, it's a little different.
Yeah, you mentioned some traveling. Have you gone anywhere like overseas to find craft beer? Where's the farthest or like coolest places you've gone to
so
or when experiencing these, you know, craft beers?
I have a bucket list trip. I want to go to Belgium very badly, to go to the monasteries over there that produce beer, and also to go to the most famous sour brewery maker in the country. They're called Cantillon. They are very hard to get. They really don't import many beers over here. So really the only place you can buy it is in Europe, and you have to like bring it back with you. So like that's a bucket list item for me. The furthest I have probably traveled within the US, I mean, we go to Iowa quite frequently to pick up beer releases. I have flown to Florida for business, and made it a point to go to some of my favorite breweries in Tampa. And I've gone so far as to send myself a styrofoam shipper back, and send myself a styrofoam shipper to my hotel, go to the breweries that I want to go to, buy the to-go beer I want, buy bubble wrap, pack it myself, and then check it on the way home. I've done that like numerous times, you know, just because there's just beer that I can't get in certain places. I can't get here that I can get other places.
I have found
we go to St. Louis too, so St. Louis is another place we love to go.
I've had a few, you know, when we're talking craft beers, we're talking like localized beers, right? Like, is that's like our like localized, more rarer beers?
Yep.
Yeah. I've had some more localized to Michigan. I've had a lot of the Michigan crafts. One of my favorites here in the city is a seasonal beer that Four Hands does, called the Chocolate Milk Stout.
They are in St. Louis. If you ever wanted to go, there are some very good breweries in St. Louis. It's probably one of the best beer cities in the Midwest, and that's outside of Anheuser-Busch. There's probably about seven or eight outstanding craft breweries in St. Louis, and for us, it's only about a 6-hour drive.
Yeah,
so
I spent
doable in a weekend.
High school in St. Louis. It's where I met Layan. Yeah, I'm here. Tell me your order. I mean, if you can find the chocolate milk stout from Four Hands and bring it back, that's always a good one. Just because like I look whenever I go into anywhere, um, because you know I enjoy like when we in our house we talk about like cold beer o'clock, right? We
I should have opened one in retrospect. I might actually go do that. I have my fridge
we
over
cracked
there.
our
I'm gonna go
last two last night. Definitely crack
tell
one
your
though.
story.
Definitely
I'll be
crack
right
one
back.
though. When we talk about cold beer o'clock in our house, we're talking about cracking open like a high life. We're talking about cracking open a PBR because it's a quick drinking beer. It tastes fine enough. It tastes good enough. I've grown to love them. And you can drink a few of them real quick and it's cold and it's nice. And then you get that feeling. You get that like nice, buzz or whatever. In the opportunities where I get to taste these craft beers, we'll also get another one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're like really flavorful, and whenever they talk about their flavor, they're really good. But I drink one, and the experience and the taste is so different that like when I was growing up, we would say like we don't like people like I don't like beer because they don't like the party beers. They didn't like Bud Light, and that is fine. No one really likes, like, no one loves Bud Light. People do, but
Can't drink all day if you don't drink Bud Light.
Sure, exactly. It's a
If I'm
day
gonna start
drinking
it,
beer, exactly.
if I'm gonna start at 8 a.m., I'm not drinking.
No, no, you can't drink craft beer all day.
Can't do it all
Certainly
day.
not.
You'll die.
Yeah, it's such a different experience. Drinking these beers. When I had a thought pretty much all week thinking about this topic and how to approach it. I was curious when you and
Mhm.
Mary Beth, your wife, for chat, and those of us that don't know, when you and Mary Beth got
aka Mrs.
aka
Toxic.
Mrs. Toxic, um
Yeah.
when you two got married, did you have like a specific craft beer at the wedding that you were...
So our two of our really good friends own one of our favorite breweries in Waukegan, which is like 30 minutes from our
Oh, that's
house.
amazing.
Yeah, so we really liked this New England IPA that they made. It was called it's called Confirmed Fire. And so they were nice enough to set aside, I think, like 5 cases of
Oh
it,
my goodness.
so that we could have that as like our signature beer at the wedding. And then that was their wedding present. So like we went to go try to pay them for it, and they were like, no,
Oh.
like like we were like fighting them to pay for it, and they're like, no, you're not paying for this. Like it's this is your wedding present. Like we really appreciate you guys, and it's really cool that we're friends with several brewery owners, and we it's really neat that we get to be a part of that community because it's a really tight-knit community, and everybody's always looking out for everybody else. And we've had the opportunity to just meet some like really incredible people through what many people would consider a very unproductive, much like streaming, because a lot of people don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's something that a vast majority of people consider a very unproductive hobby or career.
Well,
Or
I mean, that's the thing about
whatever.
like for me about hobbies is that it's they're all so productive in their own right. If we look at like, I don't know, 90% of hobbies, they're all productive in their own right, because the time in which you
Right.
sit down and get to spend with these things in your own time is always... It's that good relaxation time, or that good like thinking time, or the good just like not thinking time. It's all like very
Right.
important to a healthy balance of life, even if you don't find that in alcohol or things along that nature. So Well, I'm also now curious. Did you what beer did you grab to drink this evening?
So it is from a brewery in Buffalo Grove called Liquid Love. It is a pina colada fruited sour ale with pineapple, coconut, and cherries. It's very good.
Yes, yes.
It's called it's called Bitchfront Madness.
Bitchfront Madness. I'm in love. I love it. I think, man, I think that it only makes sense that I grab a craft beer. I mean,
It's
it's like
okay.
the most.
I'm not
Okay,
gonna
cool.
stop you.
All right. I think, all right, give me like a 5-minute break. We have a spot right next door to my house that is incredible, with beer. So I will be back in
I can.
first.
Oh, nice. You got something already?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Super close.
There you go. What did you get?
So the brand I was talking about is Pipeworks.
I like Pipeworks.
Yes, I'm a big
Been
fan. I got it's called Friend with Two Boats. It is a passion fruit, orange juice, and coconut ale.
That actually sounds really good. I'm gonna have to see if I can find it by us.
Something tasty. Pipeworks blows me away. Every time I taste it, I'm just like, the flavor is stellar.
I really like their IPAs. Lizard King and Ninja versus Unicorn.
What is your favorite kind of beer?
Like favorite brewery or like style?
Style of beer. I'm a huge fan myself of IPAs in general. I like a hoppy bite. But I also found a lot of love with like Irish lagers recently. We've been going out and drinking at Irish pubs and getting like fish and chips and stuff, and the lagers have been on point.
I am a huge fan of the pastry stout category specifically.
Okay.
My teeth do not like them because they're absolutely loaded with sugar. But like think of it like a dessert, except it's beer.
I want to say I've had a couple.
So for example, we brought one yesterday that had maple syrup, coffee, like cacao nibs, right? Or like some of them might have cinnamon and things that you'd put in a dessert, and they're usually themed. So it might be like a cinnamon roll stout, or like cookies and cream ice cream bar, or berry pie stout that may have like raspberries and blueberries. Oh, the one we brought yesterday had blueberry, coffee, and maple syrup.
Ooh,
it was quite good.
Like the
It's like
topping of
pancakes.
a pancake. Exactly. That sounds so good.
So I am very much, my teeth and my dentist absolutely hate that I drink those, but that is very much like my favorite style of beers. I love the barrel aged adjuncted stouts. That would be my top. But really, like, I'm not picky. Like, the only real beer I don't like to drink is I'm not a fan of like the smoked beers, the Rausch beers, where they like almost like a peat mossy scotch where you can taste the smokiness.
Interesting. I almost
I
grabbed.
do not like that style at all.
Almost grabbed. It was a smoked. The smoked stout. And it looked like it was aiming to be like a sweet smoked stout, which sounds like it bridges the two things you like and hate in one beer.
Yeah, I can't, for whatever reason. Like I drink like scotch and bourbon as well. And I cannot drink the Islay scotches because I literally feel like I'm drinking an ashtray.
Man,
I prefer the bourbony scotches like the Highland and the Speysides that are a little bit more neutral, and they taste much more like bourbon.
See, when I'm
for whatever reason, it's the smoky flavor, like that particular way that they make it literally tastes like I'm drinking an ashtray, and it's gross. Like it's not good for my taste buds.
When I go out and I'm like looking for an experience with drinking, which does, like, especially living in the city of Chicago, massive city, it's so easy to find an experience with whatever you're looking for. And so when I do go out for a drinking experience, I look for those like I'm licking the bottom of a burned boat scotch, you know what I mean? Like salty and
Yeah.
like so smoky that I feel like I'm smoking at the
I
moment.
can't. I
Uh,
can't. Like I need the bourbon ones or the ones
most
aged in sherry casks
Yeah,
or
I mean, I love the bourbon, and I love I just like I've yet to find a bourbon that I'm not into. I like them all, but for like so many different reasons. Um
yeah.
yeah. So you say you do you have you ever made craft beer? It sounded like it's
Uh, I've helped people make it.
mhm,
When I was, oh God, probably like in my early 20s at this point. Um, one of my coworkers at CDW was in a homebrew club. So like one weekend we made I don't know, a 10-gallon batch of like Citra Hop IPA, and we all got like a case of it. And it actually came out really good. We helped measure the ingredients and, boil it. And we pretty much did the actual brewing work.
mhm.
Once it's done brewing and it's in bottles, there's,
You're waiting.
you have to, it's a lot of waiting. So you make it and you got to wait for it to ferment, and then you got to, you got to carbonate it. And, you know, so it's like, it's like 2 hours or, it's like 4 hours of work to actually make beer, but then you're waiting for weeks for it to ferment, in a little carboy or, whatever glass. But yeah, I've helped make it before.
I know that
I don't make it on my own though.
I know that you guys are interested, or you're finishing out your basement. What we can see behind you at the moment is the good finished side of the basement, right?
Yeah.
Is there, with that new added finished space, is there any new? Are you, is that a thought? Would you like to have a space to create your own brews?
So we have a bar
Uh huh.
already. It's like great.
The bar behind the couch.
Yes. Um, there is an unfinished space behind that. So
Okay.
this is like it's a long basement, and then there's the other half over
Got
there
you behind the
where we've
wall.
got all of our, furnaces and stuff like that. We were talking the other night, because we want to run plumbing for that bar anyway at some point,
Hmm.
because it's just a dry bar right now, and there's even a spot for a sink, and I find it very stupid that there's a spot for a sink, but there's not a sink. Um, so we talked about, there's more than enough space on the wall behind the bar, to put like a long refrigerator and then put tap handles behind the bar. It would be very easy to do. It wouldn't even have to be a long tap line because it's like a foot. So literally it would just go in the wall, down, and then, boom.
And there's
Um,
nothing like a beer from a tap, like
yeah.
nothing like it.
So we talked about that. I don't know that I would ever want to brew my own. It takes, it's it's a lot of squeeze for not a lot of juice. Like it's a lot of time
Mm,
to make it, and like then you have to you have to drink the same beer until it's all gone, versus enjoying beer that other people brew.
snagging a
I
4-pack.
I could go months and not drink the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, because there's tons that I haven't tried. There's always new ones coming out. Like, it's, I enjoy the variety. But there are beers, like I have go-tos. Like if I could keep a keg of Spotted Cow behind my bar, I would drink that.
Okay, yeah.
I love that
It's
beer.
a very good beer,
Right?
yeah.
Or over the summer, like Bell's Oberon, I really like. There's plenty of things that if given the opportunity to have a large quantity of it, I would, if I had a keg of summer shandy behind my bar, I would be drinking that every night, because like I love that beer, and I could go, I could drink it for weeks. It's refreshing, it's light, it's with all the lemonade, you'll get sick before you get drunk, which is, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about drinking and not being intoxicated.
Yeah, I don't necessarily need to be like drunk when I'm enjoying these things. I like one drink at a time nowadays. You know, there's of course nights where if I have two of the craft beers, then I'm like in it. I'm in the sauce. Two of the
Yes.
pipe works will get me going for sure, but one is just like, I enjoyed that for a little bit. You know, I'm a little bit more, I guess, relaxed, but not, you know, I'm not intoxicated. You had mentioned that class early on, your like tasting alcohols class.
Yeah.
Did that inspire a love in any other alcohols? It seemed to inspire your like
Uh,
love of craft beer.
I would say it kind of did. You know, really, bourbon is like my thing.
Mm-hmm.
We both enjoy craft beer. And then we also have the person who runs my hockey team, his father-in-law. They own a vineyard in Napa Valley. And my friend runs the wine bar in downtown Long Grove, which is like a suburb up here. And so we have a love and affinity for wine now, because that's become a spot for our hockey team to like hang out, you know, on weekends. And, you know, we will probably be there a lot during the summer because they do live music, and, you know, it's just kind of a really good atmosphere and a place to hang out. But I mean, that class, I guess it helped understand what I liked and what I didn't like. So like, I'm not really a fan of gin. I don't know. I just don't like the flavor of juniper berries at all. I think it's
it's very particular.
I can drink tequila if it's in a margarita, but like, I'm not a fan of like tequila shots.
So tequila's not, I mean, it's not even supposed to be, it's not traditionally made and brewed to be shot. It's, you know, it's put into a shot glass, but you're supposed to drink that shot glass over the course of time, right? Like 30 minutes to 40 minutes. It's not a shot. It's a sipping alcohol is how it's made anyway. And I found that when I enjoy tequila in that manner, I enjoy it a lot more. If I shoot tequila, it's very abrasive. You get a lot of like the Sharpie overtone that you get with some of the bourbons. Comes through in the tequila, I find as well, but I like it much better.
I don't even shoot bourbon. I prefer bourbons that you're sipping. Like if I'm gonna pour myself a bourbon, it's gonna be 2 or 3 fingers, and I'm gonna drink it over the course of an hour and a half. Very slow, very, you know, it's kind of my like, all right, like I'm gonna sit down and just kind of hang out in a Discord call, and I need to go to bed, so I'm gonna pour myself a bourbon, and then I fall asleep.
Yeah, we'll do like our shooters are like Jameson. We keep a half a bottle of JMO around for a quick shot here and there with cold beer o'clock. But yeah, I find that I think in general, I find more enjoyment in the sipping alcohols. All right, so you said gin and tequila. What is you said bourbon is like a you like prefer bourbon. Does Mary Beth have like a preference of alcohol?
So she, I would say, is like, she's more like rum or flavored vodka. But yeah, she's just bourbon and scotch. Like there are some bourbons that she will drink. Much to my chagrin, it's usually the ones that are oppressively expensive. You know, we received a very nice bottle of bourbon as a closing gift for our house. And she tried that, and she was like, oh, this is really good, but it's like $130 a bottle. So I don't always keep that around the house because it's just not always practical to go and spend like $140 on a 750 milliliter bottle of bourbon. So there's some here and there that she'll like, but like, you know, for her, she's much more craft beer. You know, she'll have the occasional like if we're on a vacation, she'll drink like the frozen drinks, like the Miami Vice and Pina Colada, and we both really like frozen mojitos, which are life changing. If you can find a bartender in the summer that will make a frozen mojito.
Frozen and mint. I love those. I love mint and cold. It just goes so well together. Are there any specific beers that you're looking forward to in, like, for the rest of the year? We've got summer, fall, and winter. What are your like seasonal powerhouses that you're like, I know in this season comes this beer?
So like summer, if we're talking like larger breweries, it's like Leinenkugel Summer Shandy.
I like a Leinenkugel.
Is like a go-to for the summer. I also will drink a lot of Bell's Oberon over the summer. It's definitely like a good one.
My partner's a huge fan of Bell's.
New Glarus, they usually will do like one that's an Arnold Palmer beer, and it's like iced tea and it's so good. It's like iced tea and lemonade. It's very refreshing. Ooh. And then it's not really craft beer, but every year Natural Ice releases a summer beer called Natter Days. Last year it was pineapple lemonade. The year before it was strawberry lemonade. This year I think it's Bomb Pop.
Ooh,
it's called red. It's like red, white, and blue, and they're like $17 for a 40-pack. And they're like 4% alcohol.
Natter Days. Incredible.
So Naturdays is the name of the brand. It's literally Anheuser-Busch. It's the worst thing I drink.
That's like a summer popsicle beer.
Man, is it like, could you have like 7 or 8 of them if you're drinking all day and not be drunk? And that's what I'm going for.
Absolutely.
So like that's like summer. I don't know. In the fall, we just like transitioned to stout season, but like I really could drink stouts year round. Like we had a bunch of stouts yesterday, and it was like,
I don't mind a heavy stout even if it's hot out, because it's like it's supposed to be a cold beer. If it's a warm beer, I don't want it when it's hot out. But if it's like a cold beer, even if it's a heavier beer, it's nice when it's hot out.
So like I don't know that I have like a fall beer, but in the winter we get like the heavy stouts. So like Goose Island Bourbon County and like all of those hard to find ones that come out around Black Friday. We tend to like look for those as the weather starts to get a little colder, and like I have several fridges behind my bar that we usually keep pretty stocked. We rotate through the seasons. So like in the summer, we're not as likely to get into our big like stout bottles unless we're going to a beer share, and we're there's like 10 or 15 people there, so everybody's having like an ounce or two. So like in the summer we will keep our fridges stocked with like sours and IPAs and like lighter stuff.
That's what I feel like this friend with two boats has come out to be. With the orange juice, it's very sour presenting.
Yeah, like this beer I'm drinking now is like super refreshing. Tastes like a pina colada. It's great. But like, and then when it starts to get colder out, it changes to fall, it starts to get below freezing. Then we start looking for stouts and barrel aged beers and things to kind of keep you a little warmer.
Yeah.
Are
you guys a fan of the like craft pumpkin beer? I enjoy the flavor of like that gourd in a beer. I
don't like pumpkin. It's for whatever reason I've tried to enjoy pumpkin beer. I can sometimes do pumpkin spiced ones, and I think it has to do with the spice profile and not tasting the actual
more
pumpkin.
Like cinnamon and nutmeg.
Yeah, but like if it's like, I don't know, Southern Tier Warlock or Pumpkin, where there's like nothing to mask the pumpkin flavor, I am not a huge fan of those. Like I would rather like a heavier adjuncted stout that like, I don't know, caramel and apples and whatever,
caramel
versus
apples,
like Like we had one that was like a fall stout that had hazelnut, apples, and caramel in it or something. And it was really good, right? But like that would be what I would look to drink in fall. I'm not a huge pumpkin fan, but I love peppermint though.
Sure. Ooh,
Peppermint,
that's a good approach to winter. Yeah.
the peppermint, cinnamon. I'm a huge coffee drinker, so any coffee stouts, I really like coffee stouts.
Big fan of the coffee stouts. I like it when it tastes like that feeling you get off of like a very strong cup of coffee. It's like almost a little gritty in the teeth. I love that when I'm drinking a coffee stout. It's so good. Yeah, fantastic, awesome. I love that. The forehands, the like chocolate milk is the only one I look forward to in the winter. It is so warming. And usually I find that when things say they taste like chocolate, they do not taste like chocolate. Like it tastes like a cacao bean, but
it depends. Chocolate's hard to work with.
it is.
Like peanut butter, we know a lot of brewers, right? So this is conversations that we get to have with them. It's when you know people that own those things.
Sure, no.
Like chocolate, peanut butter is a very hard medium to work with.
The flavor just doesn't come across. It's almost like texture comes across in that.
Yeah, the beer. So like, there are some beers that taste like peanut
Definitely.
butter. But you have to use a lot of peanut butter. There are some adjuncts that are to add additional mouthfeel, without adding a ton of flavor.
Interesting.
But chocolate is a hard one because you really can't use like chocolate squares.
Right.
You have to use cacao nibs, and you have to use a ton of cacao nibs for, a 5,000 gallon batch of it's a lot of beer, so you have to use a lot of chocolate, right? Like, and some of those ingredients fade if the beer is not stored or cellared properly. So like if you have a coffee stout, for example, it's best to keep those refrigerated, even if you're not going to drink it right away. Because if you leave it in a cellar for too long, the coffee flavor will fade. So, some of those will lose a little bit of their luster. Whereas if it's like vanilla and cinnamon will tend to stick around longer, even if it's stored at, room temperature.
Yeah, I find a lot of the time with like vanilla and cinnamon, the stick itself is involved too, right? So like the longer that it's sitting, the longer it is soaking it in. Whereas like the cacao nib is pretty small and it only has so much jam packed.
Yeah, and it's gonna when you're boiling the mix, it's gonna melt, right? Like, so there's some adjuncts fade, some do better, like. Because a lot of the barrel aged beers you can keep for years and they'll continue to develop in the bottle. So the flavors the barrel flavor will, much like a bourbon or a wine or whatever, will mellow out with, a year or two. And then you'll have a completely different beer when you open it in 2 years versus opening it the second you buy it. It's not always a good move to buy something and open it right away, because sometimes it just tastes like a bourbon barrel and you're like, oh my God, like we should have waited.
I guess that's why I've never I've worked in fine dining and restaurants from anywhere from like a neighborhood Italian restaurant to like high-end Michelin, and it has always intrigued me, the process of beer, because like most alcohols have one process for that alcohol. There is like bourbon and wine. The longer it goes in that initial sitting phase, the more intense and unique and like individualized, flavor profile will come across. Whereas like in beer, it seems that it's like some are meant to be drank right away. Like we brew it, it's drink now. Or it's like we brew it and then we sit it for X amount of time. It's an interesting that the change in I think like care of an alcohol changes in this like
Well, and sometimes we'll buy more than one bottle of something because like it's interesting to drink one when you first get
Mhm.
it and see what it tastes like, and then you'll open one a year later, and you'll be like, oh wow, like this was supposed to be coconut and this ingredient, but this ingredient faded a little bit, and now you just have this really pleasant coconut flavor, or so it's interesting sometimes to like open something one year and then try it and then try the same thing again 12 months later and have it be completely different than the first time you tried it. But you don't get that with a lot of other things, right? It's red wine and it's beer. Like you're not going to sit there and age a white wine for 10 years. It doesn't continue to develop, but you can do it with barrel aged beer. You could do it with wine because it's continuing to eat on the additional sugar, which is why those pastry stouts are so cool, because there's so much sugar in
Mhm.
them that as they age, the ingredients will take on a different profile because it starts another fermentation,
Yeah.
right? And then some of the flavors mellow and other ones become more intense. It's, it's,
Yeah.
it's really neat, but it is hard to buy something with the intention of not drinking it right
That's
away.
tough. That's tough.
That's a skill.
My
It's a skill you have
my
to learn.
goal one day is a cellar of like half, old red wines that I've bought and half like kegs of beer that I can keep and like is meant to be cellared for an amount of time. Um,
I probably have about 100 bottles in my cellar, I think.
yes.
So I keep
Do you have
one.
like old? Do you have any old beers in there that maybe you're not even thinking of like opening, but is good because it's just like even almost a collector, Do you have any like collector
I mean,
bottles?
I open them eventually. So I have like a 6-year vertical of regular Bourbon County. So what is that? 2015 through 16, 17, 18.
2021.
Yeah, something like that. I might even have a 7-year vertical of Bourbon County. I either have it starting at 2015 right now or 2016. It might start at 2016. So 16, 17,
And is
18,
that
19,
you
20.
got it in 2015, or is that it
Yeah.
was? Oh, okay. So you've had it for 7 years. What
Yep.
is there a life on that? Like, is there like after X amount of years, it's I
Some of
waited too long?
the 15 or 16 I probably should open soon. Goose Island says that they'll age for about 5 years in the bottle. So generally we'll wait until we have like a big party and we'll open like all 5 of them.
Mm.
I also have a 4-year vertical of like regular Three Floyds Dark Lord. So I mean, there's a few bottles I have that are, sub 2015s. I do have a Cantian bottle. Those actually will age in the bottle for 10 years.
Ooh,
And I
10-year
think
beer.
the Canyon I have is from 2019. And I still haven't opened it yet. I think I'm going to wait another year or two. And then it'll probably be drinking really good because it's their non-adjuncted, no additives, no ingredients sour. And they age very, very nicely. I wrote the year on it in gold marker, and I just put it at the back of my shelf where I keep all my beer. And every now and again, I look
What
at it
kind
and
of
I'm like,
oh,
maybe I'll open it.
repeat
And I'm
the
like,
kind of
nah.
sour you said non-adjuncted what?
It's just a sour. There's no fruit in it. There's no ingredients in it. It's just a wild fermented
What
sour beer.
I truly thought until you said that what made a sour was the fruit in being involved in the process.
No, it's the style of fermentation.
Same
So,
ingredients, just like fermented differently.
So wild fermentation, so like Cantian, the way that they ferment their beer is made in the same way that they would make peat moss for scotch. So they make the beer, they put it in a barn, and they let it ferment in the open air. So the yeast, they don't put yeast in it. The yeast is like naturally occurring from the air and pollen, and like it literally like it's wild
It's like
fermented.
sour air.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really neat. And they've been making beer that way for like, 200 years.
Blown away.
Still make it the same way.
You know,
I mean, they may put yeast in it to make it.
Yeah, sure,
like obviously
sure.
it's got, but like they put a little yeast in there. But a lot of it comes from
but the sourness comes from the open wild ferment
being out in the wild.
That's
it's
so
really cool.
Intriguing. You know,
and they're one of the few places that do it that way.
I thought all week, I was like, I'm pleased that Toxic is, or that Matt is doing a subject that I will be able to talk a little bit on, because I've had a little bit of approach to it. And I was like, this is good. Starting with a topic that I at least know. And like through this time, I've learned just a ton about beer in general already. Just like a new, I think, view on the crafting of craft beer. That's very interesting. You're definitely gonna have to give me an update if you ever get to Belgium, because I'm interested in monk beer, and
I want to go.
Like, I need to know what a monk whose whole shtick is fucking brewing this beer for his life. I need to know for their life.
It's not the monk. It's the entire monastery.
Sure.
So like, there's a whole bunch of them. So like, the most popular one would be West Vleteren. They make one of the best Belgian quadruple ales or triple ales in the world. You can probably order it online and have it shipped, but
getting it from the source.
Yeah, you can order it. You can have it shipped. There's like all these Belgium in a Box is one of them. There's another site called PureJoy where you can get beer from Europe and they'll send it to you. It's kind of cool. It takes weeks to get here because it's got to sit in customs.
Yeah, customs sucks
I've ordered from them several times, and it's attainable. But like West Vleteren is like a Trappist monastery that brews beer, and they, instead of asking for donations, they operate by selling the beer that they produce. So they don't really drink it. They make enough to sell, and then that's how they keep the monastery open. Saint Sixtus is another one. Saint Bernardus is another one. Those are all Trappist.
And how long have places like these places been brewing their beers?
Hundreds of years. Long time. Longer than a long time.
Are we talking like predating America?
So West Vleteren Monastery has been making beer since 1838.
Wow. Almost 200 years.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Cantillon, but
I wonder what the oldest, like if you were to go there and say like, express your interest in craft beer, express your interest in these experiences. I wonder what the oldest beer that, if you had no, say, money cap, you could try there is. Just like, hey, I want your oldest stock that's still possibly good.
I'm not sure. Cantillon started in 1900.
Okay. Dang, that's so
they've been brewing for
120 years.
222 years almost.
That's mind-blowing. Yes, I will definitely ask for an update when you go on that trip. However long in the future,
you know, it's
dream trip.
It's definitely something I want to do. But the problem is, like, I don't want to just go to one place in Europe, so then you feel like you got to spend time other places. But like, I feel like to do that trip right, you need to spend like 4 days in Belgium, because there's so many places to go, right in that immediate area. There's Drie-Fonteinen, there's Cantillon, there's West Vleteren, Saint Sixtus, Saint Bernardus. Like, there's like 10 or 12, like, and these places have been making beer longer than, almost as long as, well, maybe not as long as Germany. Germany is definitely the oldest. They've been, I think the Reinheitsgebot was like 1438. German beer purity law. I actually did my paper on the German beer purity law
For culinary school?
Yes. So, yes, I did my beverage appreciation final paper on the Reinheitsgebot, which was signed in 1516, the German beer purity law, which says that in Germany, in order to be considered beer, it has to contain only 4 ingredients. It cannot contain anything else. It's water, hops, yeast, barley. Anything else is considered a malt beverage in Germany. It's
I
law there.
remembered learning about that when I was working in Michelin. The four
Yeah.
ingredients. We had a few beers that did and were like proudly proudly they had been doing that recipe since before that law was, in place. Because there was a few, right? There was a few, I think, in Germany that were
all of them.
Well, no, that were doing it before that law, and then they came together with like the lawmakers of the time and got that to be a law so that their breweries could be top of the
every German brewery now, and I've been to Oktoberfest once, but every
in Germany,
every brewery now in Germany produces beer the same way. It's nice because like you don't really get a hangover because there's no
sugars, no additives, the bad sugars.
So like if you're hungover after drinking, and keep in mind at Oktoberfest there's one size, it's like the big one. You have a headache for like an hour, and then you go eat, and you're like, well, I could go drink more, I guess. Like,
yeah,
I'm ready to go back again. Put me back in, coach. Like, it's weird. They're like 7% beers, and like it goes down like it's a summer beer. Like you may as well be drinking summer shandy over there. I don't know if it's the air. I don't know if it's because everybody's just having a good time, but like, man, they are very strong and they go down very easy. So.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that we have talked about, I think that we've thoroughly broken down the topic brought today. The topic of what brings you in your life pure joy. We've talked about some craft beer. I even had to run next door and pick up craft beer because I was into the conversation so much. I just wanted to join in.
Well, there you go. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's great. If you want, you like a moment to do any sort of plug. I know that you do your podcast. You did your second episode today.
Sure. Everybody. Again, I am Toxic Killer 50. I stream about 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday. That's right. I do a podcast once a month. It's called Teachable Moments with Toxic. Right now, we are going over different streaming related topics. Today's episode was about using social media and editing clips. Our next episode will air. I have to push it back another week because we are going to my in-laws. It will be on the last Sunday of June, so June 26th, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll be going over OBS. So any questions that you have about how to do certain tricks or setting up scenes or anything like that within OBS, we will kind of be answering those questions. I do a lot of really fun content. Come by the channel sometime. Everybody is welcome. We have a lot of fun.
Fantastic. All right. Well, it was great having you on. Thank you for being our first guest here.
Of course. Have a wonderful
night. You too, my friend. I'll catch you around. And as for all of you, let's switch over to here. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining on in the stream tonight. It has been an absolutely fantastic time. I said we will be back again every other week to continue with this podcast. It will just be like this, right? Every guest will have their own thing that brings them joy. They'll talk about it a little bit, and then we will we'll break it down. I'll dig in. We're gonna try a couple different approaches to it and see what kind of like works best as we refine in these early stages. But I want to thank you all for coming out, being a part of this. Come join us June 5th for our next episode with Kaokin Adrian. We'll find out what his topic is on that day. And this will be, like I said, a bi-weekly exploration. So you can find us on June 5th with Kaokin Adrian, and then on June 19th, 2 weeks after that, with the Rake Song 42, my close friend Gabe, whom I've known for many years. Thank you so much for joining us here on our Pure Joy podcast. We will see you again in 2 weeks.